Healing begins when we understand the defenses we've built to survive. Trauma doesn't just hurt us, it changes us. To protect ourselves, we often develop layers of defenses, emotional barriers, and coping mechanisms. While these responses may have helped us survive, they can also prevent us from fully reconnecting with who we are. This chapter is about understanding and unpacking the layers we've built around our trauma, and taking steps toward healing by recognizing these survival mechanisms. After trauma, it's natural to create defenses as a way to protect ourselves from further harm. These defenses might come in the form of emotional walls, detachment, or even adopting behaviors that numb the pain. It's important to remember that these defenses served a purpose. They helped you survive when you felt vulnerable or unsafe. But over time, the very defenses that protected you may start to limit your emotional growth and prevent you from accessing the parts of yourself that long for healing and connection. This chapter invites you to gently unpack these layers, not to tear them down all at once, but to examine them with compassion and curiosity. Let's start by taking inventory of the defenses you've developed over time. In a journal or notebook, reflect on the following questions. What behaviors or habits have you developed to protect yourself from being hurt again? Do you avoid certain situations or emotions because they feel too painful? Are there people in your life who you've distanced yourself from as a way to protect yourself emotionally? This exercise isn't about judging or blaming yourself for these defenses. It's about understanding them. Once you acknowledge the layers you've built, you can decide how to approach them in a way that promotes healing. For many trauma survivors, life after trauma can feel like a constant state of survival mode. In survival mode, we prioritize safety and self-preservation over everything else. This might look like pushing people away, avoiding vulnerability, or staying hyper alert to potential threats. While survival mode is useful during a traumatic event, it can become exhausting if it continues long after the trauma has passed. It keeps you armored up, unable to fully experience life or engage in meaningful relationships. Exercise: mapping your defenses. Draw a diagram of yourself with a circle in the center representing your core self. Around that circle, draw additional layers or armor representing the defenses you've built. Label each layer with the defense mechanism it represents, like emotional numbness, withdrawal, avoidance, anger, and so on. Now, consider the following questions. Which layers are still serving you? Which layers are keeping you from connecting with your true self or others? Which layers do you feel ready to let go of, if any? This visual exercise helps you see the many ways you've protected yourself and allows you to decide which defenses are helpful and which are holding you back. Gradually letting go. Letting go of defenses is not something that happens overnight. It's a process and it takes time. The key is to approach it gradually at a pace that feels safe for you. Start by identifying one defense that you feel ready to loosen or shift. For example, if you've distanced yourself from loved ones as a way to protect your heart, consider reaching out to someone who feels safe and slowly letting them back in. Remember, healing isn't about abandoning your defenses all at once. It's about learning to discern when they are needed and when they are keeping you stuck in survival mode. Action step: practicing vulnerability. One of the most challenging aspects of healing is learning to be vulnerable again. After trauma, vulnerability can feel terrifying. It exposes us to the possibility of being hurt, but it also opens us up to connection, healing, and growth. In a safe and controlled way, practice being vulnerable. This might mean sharing a small part of your story with someone you trust, or allowing yourself to experience emotions that you've been suppressing. Start small, and as you become more comfortable, you can gradually expand your capacity for vulnerability. Reflection break. What defense mechanisms are you ready to release? How does holding on to these defenses limit your ability to heal? What would it feel like to allow yourself to be vulnerable even in small ways? Conclusion of Chapter 3. Unpacking the layers we built around our trauma is not an easy task, but it's a necessary step toward healing. By recognizing the defenses we've developed and understanding their purpose, we can begin to loosen our grip on the ones that no longer serve us. Healing is about learning to trust again. Trusting yourself, trusting others, and trusting that you have the strength to be vulnerable and whole once more. Thank you for being part of this journey. Up next is Chapter 4, where we'll continue reclaiming our power. Don't miss it. Come back soon and let's keep growing and rediscovering ourselves together. Comment and share so we can support each other along the way.